Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to crumble!
I'm Joshua Kemble, and welcome to Joshua Kemble's Livestream. I've been a freelance illustrator and graphic designer for over 20 years. I was an art director for 9 years. And when I'm not art directing and working on illustrations and graphic designs, I'm working on comic books and graphic novels, and that's usually what I do during my streams. And while conversations can go all over the place on this stream, from spicy and entertaining to goofy and silly, one thing stays consistent throughout every stream. I'll always be working on art. So pull up a chair, get your art supplies out, and get ready for an entertaining show that'll keep you company while you work on your own personal art projects. This is Joshua Kemble's Art Stream. All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? Happy Saturday. You're going to hear a lot of noise in the background, and that's basically the fish tank being cleaned. My wife and her sister are like rocking some fish tank cleaning for our first fish tank, and then they'll be transferring over here to our huge fish tank to kind of doing the pump and stuff like that. So if you hear that, that's what you hear. A lot of fish tank cleaning. But it's a Saturday stream. Everybody's home. Everybody's off work, so there's inevitably going to be like noises around the house and all that kind of stuff. So it'll provide some ASMR for those of you who are kind of interested in it. So what's on the dock for today? Let's put the music on. Get pumped. Let's see. Let me find the music. All right, let's do the little intro one more time. Just the little.
Let's get ready to crumble!
All right, that was the Let's Get Ready to Crumble. Okay, what's on the dock for today is we're going to be working on a crazy crowd scene for page 79 of Two Stories. Let me know how my audio is if you're listening, just to make sure everything's coming through okay. It sounds okay on my end, but I never know. So we're going to be working on a crazy crowd scene for panel 1 of page 79. For those of you who might remember me doing the roughs for this, of Not Death But Love, the Strange Supernatural Story of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. It's the interior of a Victorian-era theater. And so we're kind of working on that. It's the Teatro Niccolini in Italy. And so I've worked out most of the interiors in like blue lines. I went over those with dark pencil, and what my goal is now, I have the key figures in there, but my goal now is to basically fill the auditorium with hundreds of people, which is going to be an interesting challenge, but I think it'll be worth it if I draw it in really exquisite detail. Gary Hodges says, "Good morning, Mr. Kemble." Corey says, "Audio is good. Background music is still running, though." Yes, I'm trying to have the background music run, but hopefully it's not interfering. Hopefully it'll be a little more fun than hearing all the clanking and dunking of water and stuff like that. So that's what's on the dock today. We're going to do a big crowd scene, which I think is actually might be helpful for those of you who've never drawn like a crowd scene. It's actually relatively, like, there's a formula to it, at least I think. I hope I can remember what that formula is. But generally, it's just, you just kind of sketch in. For me, it's really helpful to do digitally because you can sketch in, like, in magenta, like the rough outline of the characters, like the structures of them, and then go over that again in cyan with, like, details of the characters. To kind of work out, so you kind of block out all the characters and stuff from there. So we'll see. That's what's on the dock today. Will this be a spicy stream? I'm guessing people might be asking. Let's turn the music off now. will this be a spicy stream? And my answer is probably not. I'm just gonna kind of hang out and work on art today. So that's kind of the goal. So that for those of you who've been wanting the spice, you know, good luck to you. We might be being joined in a little bit by a guest. We'll see. And we're gonna work on this page. I have a little update before we get into working, which is I met up with an author on Friday that is also repped by my writer's rep. She introduced us and thought maybe we'd want to collaborate. And we met up and we had a ton in common. Like, we both have really shared belief systems, which was one of my primary concerns meeting up, was that like maybe we would have some existential differences of opinion in regards to the belief we both claim. And what was weird was we have a ton in common, and he has a really good script, and so we're going to probably try to make it a graphic novel and pitch it. But we'll see, because like I think next week we're gonna try to do a conference call with my writers rep and my writing agent, my literary agent. Why do I keep calling her writer's rep? It's like this old habit from having an artist rep back in the day. But my literary agent is going to be meeting with us and talking about the potential of developing a pitch, and I'll share more as I can on that. But that's fairly good news, even though it's somewhat speculative. The writers had some really good sales on their work, and it's a really profoundly good script, and so I think it's worth the gamble. When it's a story I think would be fun to work on, and honestly, I kind of, after meeting the guy, I kind of feel like, wow, there's something there behind us, like meeting and stuff like that, that's kind of meaningful, which is going to be really cool to see. As for just an update on where I'm at currently, job wise, I gotta say I'm getting a little nervous. Partially because I have book deals. My wife has a lot of books on the dock, and so we're okay for her having work, but I'm definitely still on the hunt and still looking. And so it's that weird moment of with my belief system. I think a lot of it's like that weird, one of those weird points of life where you just kind of have to trust God and trust where He's leading, and hope that He's leading you, in a good direction, and knowing that He will be. And weirdly enough, the meeting with this writer was kind of a real encouragement in that realm, because even though it's kind of speculative and weird and kind of all over the place, it felt very right in a way that like two stories when I first wrote it kind of felt. Um, and everything that's followed since, like professionally, has been really good, and so I need to kind of trust that process. I guess for those of you who don't have faith, it would just be kind of like having faith in myself kind of thing. But in this case, I am glad to have something a little bit bigger than myself to, to have a little trust in, as I'm heading into this kind of more wacky area of like the freelance and potential new horizons kind of thing. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. But one thing hasn't changed. I have a graphic novel that I have to get done, and I'm on page 79 of it. And let's pull it up so that we can work on comics and stuff. I'd love to hear what you guys are working on today. I'd love to hear how everything's going for you guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the daily stream up. Here it is, and this is the crazy building I had to draw. And for some people, this may not be that impressive. For me, this took like so long to do, like ridiculous amounts of time to do. I have a lot of references toward the bottom of this that are showing different costuming from the era. And that's going to come in handy as I start building out the audience in here. So far, all I have placed in the room are Elizabeth and Robert, and the magician and his assistant. And every single one of these things needs to be filled with a human being or a person. So it's going to be fun. We're going to kind of go through this and fill this building with people. And hopefully you guys are ready for that or excited for that. Having some coffee. This is our art cam right here that's showing, basically the Wacom tablet, which is like a cheap old Wacom tablet. I don't have like fancy equipment. I like to show that off because I think a lot of the time artists get stuck in I need this perfect equipment, or I'll do this once everything's perfect, or once conditions are perfect, or once I have the perfect pen, or once I have the perfect whatever. And often I think a lot of artists that get stuck in the tool trap, that's what I'm going to call it, the tool trap, are just kind of experiencing like delay for one reason or another that may not be necessary. So anyhow, here we go. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into this page. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to resize. Let's see here. We're going to resize or move some of these references that I had looked up. That'll be good because I honestly don't want them blocking my view, especially for this first part. And then what we're going to do, how we're going to approach this crowd scene is we're going to just basically draw in heads and bodies into the audience. And I'm going to do it in magenta. And then we might go over it in cyan after the fact. So I'm going to go ahead and call this people. Gary said, today's project is getting my ducks in a row in an attempt, a rough draft at D versus M the next week or so. Nice. Very exciting, Gary. I cannot wait to read the next one. I don't want to join the chorus of voices that would kind of like assume or forget like how hard it is for you to do those. But I am eager for it and really looking forward to it. And I am sincerely hyped about it. One thing I want to look at before I get into these details is I do want to take a peek at some of these references so I can see. I have my rough just to see if there's any specific people I've indicated. And I think on the left and right, I was going to have men. So now I'm going to look at men's hair from the time. There's kind of this weird, interesting hairstyle. There's these mutton chops. There's definitely a lot of mustaches. There's a dude with like a beard. We're just getting like a visual fill at this point of what these people look like. There's women with a variety of different hairstyles. Some of them have these like mini hats. I do believe I might have forgotten Robert's hat, so we might. No, I guess his hat's off because he's sitting down. Okay, so I didn't have the men with their hats on. So now we're just gonna go in there and kind of fill it out. Let's get it. Let's see. We had a somewhat overweight guy with like split hair to the left of Elizabeth. So let's draw him in there, and then we'll just kind of do it from there. So I think we'll start with this crowd. We got like a little visual picture of it. I think first, before we get into details, I was just about to make that mistake. Why is this having so much lag? Before I get into that mistake of like getting into like specific details, what I want to do instead is like just kind of work out some really loose, details of like who would be here. This guy's going to be kind of overweight. We're just going to kind of fill in like, strangely enough, maybe this will be a woman with like short hair. Kind of like that woman we were looking at before. And you know what? I shouldn't even be getting into her hair. Let's just do blocked shapes of different figures first. That way we kind of work out what our figures are doing. We can kind of work out their gestures. Okay. And let's just continue to do that until we run out of room. So we're basically filling the room with different figures. I think this is going to be a dude with a beard, but we'll figure that out in a second. Right now all we're trying to do is kind of, again, just this will probably be another guy, but we'll figure that out as it goes. I think maybe this guy's going to be a little shorter. And right now we're just roughing in a bunch of heads and bodies. And then we'll pass over it again in a second. Once we have all these heads and bodies kind of placed in there. So it's almost like we're doing stick figures. And this is a process that is fairly tedious. I know some people will cheat and just do like the little swirly head thing. I'm not a fan of that. I think if you're going to draw a crowd scene, draw the crowd. If you hide things or obscure them in shadow, it's better to have the actual details, I think, before you kind of go and do that hiding. This person might be like a little bit more on their side. And so on. So we're kind of we're kind of working our way through and just filling up a auditorium full of little magenta heads. Gary said, fortunately, it looks like the audience would be very small on that page. You could get away with suggesting rather than detailing. Yeah, I'm going to detail, but I'm not going to detail too much. It's going to be kind of equivalent to like a Where's Waldo page or something like that. So what we're going to do for every level of audience is now I'm going to, so I have my first level. I'm going to make another layer above it. And that one's going to have cyan. And that one we're going to do the next level of characters. So that's going to be level 2 of characters, and we'll kind of work our way through that. Where it's just, again, we're just doing heads. We want kind of audience reactions. This is going to show me overlap. What I'm going to do after this, maybe I want those heads a little bit lower. It's going to be a challenge because basically I want these heads organized to where they don't totally obscure Robert and Elizabeth. So that might mean that we might have to cheat a little bit when we get towards Robert and Elizabeth. And that is the beauty of sequential art, is you can kind of cheat. Now, the nice thing about this is going to show me how much of those front heads I need to draw, because now I'm drawing the audience, again, but this time the audience is showing me, this will be a kid here, just showing me how much of the audience to obscure. And luckily, I think I already did kind of work out a way in which Robert and Elizabeth would not be fully obscured. Vic said, me and Phil just finished a horrible stream. Why do you call it a horrible stream? Yeah, that's a fair point. Mai just corrected your grammar, Vic. My wife, Mai, said, was it because you should have said it was Philip and I? Huh? My wife, the grammar Nazi. Sorry, I'm teasing, by the way. Vic gave a smiley face. Let's see here. So, we're going to be filling in these characters. Vic said I was humming rap for 15 minutes in the beginning. Humming rap? Now I'm really curious. Now I want to watch this stream. How dare you hum rap? I'm joking. The hip hop music? It's ruining our children's minds. What's the rhyme? I'm kidding. I'm down. I can hop with the hip. I can get pretty hip with the hop. My wife is trying to do the hip, hop, hibbit to the hip to the hop. Oh, she said the Muppet Chef did that song. That's very funny. I kind of want to hear the Muppet Chef do that song. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our previous layer, right? And now I know some things. I know that, first of all, there's a couple things that we're not going to be seeing here. So I'm going to start with the people that are being blocked, and then eventually we're going to get to the chairs that are being blocked. This is like a really effective way to kind of draw like a more realistic crowd scene. You don't have to draw them this way. I just have found this very helpful. This might be a little overkill though. But the nice thing is right now all I'm doing is just setting up a structure. And then that structure is going to allow me to very freely draw details, probably in black over all of it, and have them look passable. Which is kind of rad. So now we're going to go to our line layer. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's unlocked. And now I can start erasing some things like the backs of the chairs that they would be blocking. And the back of Elizabeth and Robert that it would be blocking, right? Is that making sense? It's kind of a long approach, but if you care about accuracy to an extent, this is a really good way, I think, to draw an audience scene. So I'm literally working my way through the crowd. And again, I might be doing more drawing than I need to, but as somebody who used to be intimidated like hell by like a big crowd scene like this way of doing it really helped me to unlock how it's done, for me at least. Doesn't have to be that way for you. So this whole chair here is blocked. That's great. And now there's parts of the stage that we're not going to see as well, which I can start erasing away. And we're going to start seeing kind of the audience here. Keep in mind, these colors are just temporary, right? These colors, magenta and blue, are only there to help me kind of keep organized on like how far back this audience is going to go. And now I'll zoom out so we can see, is this working? And hey, that illusion works pretty well. We have a crowd scene. We're making sure that Elizabeth and Robert kind of stand out a little bit. And we'll be able to add in details and stuff like that in a second. Vic said, I'm fine with silhouette crowds because I'm lazy. I kind of used to be, but with a scene like this, I think, especially because this is the first time they've walked into the ballroom, my goal is to create an effect that will really wow people. And it doesn't take much longer to do this. And I've done this on pictures before, and it makes a big difference. Whereas if you're just using silhouettes as a cheat for your crowds, it can really not work. Gary said, on the potentially triggering topic of lamps, how were theaters lit in that era? Were all the lights on the stage? Was there any light at all for the audience? So a lot of the lights are on the stage, so you're going to see a lot of the lights generated from the stage. They also had gas lamps, so there's a lot of gas lamps. Philip said, how long did that take you to draw that? I started it yesterday. That's why I didn't stream yesterday. I was working my way through this beast, and now I have to edit in a bunch of people. And so this took forever. This took like easily 12 hours maybe to draw. It might take longer once I'm done. But I like it, and it's a good panel, and it kind of pulls you into this really cool scene. And luckily, it's the only time I have to draw the full theater. So the rest of it's all very close-up shots where you're mostly seeing the stage. And then I think the next page is like backstage. So luckily, I'm not stuck with this for a while. Okay, let's do one more row of people, and then we'll see where we can go. Yeah, Philip said massive 1-point perspective. Yeah, it was a beast. And it's not perfect perspective. It's not perfect perspective at all. But this method I'm showing you with like blue and red, that's kind of like a little bit of the method that I do a lot of my early, like when I'm working digitally and when I'm penciling digitally. That's how I do my pre-pencils generally. So now what we're going to do is we're going to merge these down. I'm going to lock them, and then I'm going to make these all blue. Now they're all cyan. Now we're going to go to magenta, and we're going to work our way and do the next layer of people. And so on. So it's going to take a while to kind of get these all blocked in, but once I have them all blocked in, I have these structural shapes in there to kind of help me navigate. And I'm assuming these chairs are going to like people's mid back basically. But once I have these structural shapes in there to help me navigate, then it's just a matter of erasing out details that I'm not going to need to add detail to. And so eventually we're going to lose a lot of the details that I'm drawing in the foreground. But what'll hopefully happen in theory, when I've done this in the past for crowd scenes, it creates a very compelling, believable audience. And it also saves you a lot of work in the long run because you're not having to. So this would block Elizabeth entirely, this seat. So I'm almost thinking maybe we'll leave that seat empty. And maybe I'll fill this seat, but this guy is going to be leaning forward. Or maybe that'll be a kid. We'll have it be a kid. And do I want a kid there? Maybe it's a little kid, like a... No, I want Elizabeth's hair to be recognizable. So we're not going to fill that chair. We're going to use license to have these two chairs. These two chairs Maybe this guy. Okay, we'll have a guy here who's leaning forward, so it doesn't look too suspiciously composed. This guy might be leaning forward. Maybe we have a person here like leaning forward. No, you know what? That's gonna look really weird. No, you know what? We can make that work. We'll have a person leaning forward, so it's just one gap chair. So hopefully they won't notice. And maybe it's a kid, like kind of looking up at their dad or something, and it's a parent looking down. Maybe something like that. Now we'll have another head here, and we're just going to continue to kind of fill out this audience. And again, like the beauty of it is when it comes to finals, I'm not going to see all of these different overlapping structural things because we're just procedurally going to go through like autistic weirdos like I am. and we're going to erase out all the gaps. And again, I know there's quicker ways, but I like this. I like this way. I like this way a lot. I think it works very effectively. And I've noticed the other section actually is kind of missing chairs, so we're just going to let it align now. So now let's go back to our people layer. Let's go back to that layer. And now we're just going to erase so people aren't transparent through other people. We're going to erase out all the details there. So again, we'll know how much chair is showing, how much of the other people are showing. We'll get to the black lines after. This is going to be that kid. This will be that parent. And who knows how much of that kid and parent are going to even show up at the end of the day. But the great part is when it comes to, like, now I have the structural drawings. So, like, once it comes to the final drawings where I get to add details to these people, it's just like a draw fest, where I can look at those pictures, get a little visual inspiration, and just kind of plug away. But you'll have an audience that at least somewhat feels like they fit in perspective with the buildings, which will hopefully create like a stunning effect for people where they'll be like, wow, that's really cool. That's at least the hope, right? So now we're going to go down to our line layer, and we're just going to erase the sections, again, the sections of the stage that we wouldn't be seeing. And then we're going to erase the sections of the building that we wouldn't be seeing too. And if I was smart, I'd make a copy of the background so that when I'm erasing over it, I can always go back. But I'm not smart, so. So now we have these people, and we have some sections of seat that are being blocked by them. We have some sections of, the building that you're not going to be seeing either. But now we're getting all these little details in here. And it's kind of a long, tedious process, but I love it. And it's kind of fun. It's like literally building in a crowd. And as you can see, I mean, it might seem like this is a really ridiculous approach to it, but it's actually relatively quick. And now we've got an audience that's starting to feel like they're actually in the theater. And this is before we've even added detail, right? So now what I'm going to do is, again, go back to my layer that's magenta. I'm going to merge it down. This time, just because we already have magenta, we'll just make them all magenta now. And now we can move on to our cyan lines. And so on. So this is kind of a wacky, weird thing. I just forgot to... I gotta say, Corey, if you end up joining or if you were trying to join, I was not paying attention in the in the StreamYard. So when you do end up hopping on, give me a heads up on Facebook, so that I know to look down there because I'm kind of in the zone here, just drawing. So what I'm gonna do is save, and then I'm gonna play a trailer for Jacob's apartment, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna fill this theater with heads. Because we're head hunting today, guys. It's not lamps today. I'm head hunting. I'm coming for heads. All right. Let's see here. So let's play the trailer as we hear the pump of the fish tank. Causing water. Here is a trailer for Jacob's apartment. Speak clearly, it seems that only in dreams can we be these things we've seen and walk around breathing I don't know the part to play in this heart of mine. There's dissonant things, they split at the seams. Doing a crowd scene in a complicated kind of 2-point perspective drawing of a building and putting them in the location in a convincing manner. And what's great is, again, by doing it this way, I'm like allowing myself to put in just enough detail when it comes to the finals that I'm actually saving myself work. But right now it's just a patience game of like drawing in each character. Did we miss a seat? We missed a seat before. Okay, we already missed a seat. This is kind of wackiness. So, okay, what we're going to do is, and you're going to hear water in the background because there's fish tank cleaning going on, guys. There is a pump pumping water out of a fish tank. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take some liberties here and kind of fill in the missing head here. People are not clapping right now. They're just kind of stunned in the theater, so that's okay. I think here we're probably not going to see his arm. These heads will be just a little bit lower because, again, this is just going to go to people's shoulder blades, kind of, these theater seats. And the heads are going to be getting just a slight bit bigger as we go back. It's this like very, again, like other people have other ways of doing things, you know? Like, but to me, I love this because when I've done this in the past, it ends up being really convincing for a crowd scene, even though it's just indications of crowd that end up being kind of in the final. Maybe this couple is going to be, maybe this person's turning and talking. Maybe their hands over here. And they're, you know, leaning over or something to say something. And then this person might even be blocking that parent to child, which is fine. This person might just be, let's see. Maybe this person's just kind of leaning over a little bit. And then we'll have, again, another head here. I'm just paying attention to the way I located the chairs. And this might be a lady. Again, we'll work out hair and all of those details in a second. Now you don't have to do like anything in art, people do not have to do it this way. Okay? I just find it really helpful to do it this way because it ends up being really convincing. Whereas if you just draw a bunch of circles, you can kind of make it convincing, but I feel like this really makes it feel like a real place with people in an actual location. And I think we hopped seats earlier, so maybe we don't want to do that last seat. I feel like we hopped seats. So I think that's going to do it for this row, and then we'll get to the next row. Because this is death row, which is the record label that pays me. You know what I'm saying? I'm here all night. Vic was talking about quoting hip hop or humming hip hop, so I thought that would be funny. There's nothing to me funnier than like somebody being like in the whitest voice possible, being like, "Hello, I'm into hip of the hop." I don't know. That joke never seems not funny to me. Hey, cool kids. Do you like hippin' and hoppin'? All right, so let's continue our assault here, our attack on the theater, on the crowd scene, in the same fashion that I've been kind of mentioning before. And again, it's just going to seem like random heads at the end, but it'll feel really authentic. Partially because we're literally building a crowd, how a crowd would look, which is kind of fun. So we got our people. Now we're going to go to our lines. And we're going to do the same exact business, like erase the background that would be covered by humans, except the back of their chair, which would be covering them. So I know this would be, oh my goodness. My computer's really not happy about all this brushwork. Let's save. That might take a few seconds. So I'm saving it right now. Okay, cool. You want to make sure you're saving as you're doing this so you don't have to do this whole thing all over again. And again, like a lot of the detail is going to get covered up, but we're going to find it. It's this weird thing when you, like Corey's talked about this before too, where quite often to draw something, you kind of are thinking about the actual thing. So like for me, with like a small scene, it's very easy to draw characters in context. Did I freeze? It looks like I froze for a second there. It's very easy to think of drawing things in a setting. And you can kind of do that with a few characters. But once you start getting to crowds of people, it's really good to work on your setting first and then kind of draw your characters into the setting. Almost like an animator would approach things. Philip said Scottish people trying to rap is hilarious. I'd imagine if they were rapping in Scottish, it might sound pretty cool, but if they were trying to rap in English, that would be really funny. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. I'm trying to see if that works. I don't think that worked. I couldn't quite do it. I was thinking of like Sean Connery talking about Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan forever. Okay, let's see here. I guess that could work with Sean Connery, but I think it would work better if it was like West Coast, you know, West Coast. I think somebody with a lisp would be interesting too. There are rappers with lisps though, so I don't know. All right, let's continue. I don't know why you guys aren't seeing this, but like almost every time I make a mark, the my computer is starting to have the pinwheel of death happen, which is no fun. Others know it as the beach ball of doom. We're saving. We're making sure we're saving, since especially we're having a lot of unhappy computer moments. Okay, everything's saved. Let's go to this top. If you're hearing music in the background too, that's I think they have the TV on or something.
It could also be me.
It could.
My iPad.
It,
That voice could be from the iPad.
yeah, it could also be Benji's iPad. That's a possibility. You never know what evil lurks in the hearts of men. So now what we're going to do is, again, we're going to consolidate that. And it's going to give us this looks like the screen is frozen. Let me know in the chats if you guys are experiencing more than just that frozen image, or if you're even seeing that frozen image. Philip said Glasgowing's trying to rap is even isn't even comprehensible. I could see that. Oh my gosh. I might have to. Well, we'll see if this rectifies. If not, I might have to restart and reboot because my computer is not happy right now. It's acting very overloaded, which is bizarre because I don't have a lot of programs running. Okay, what I'm going to do real quick, just to make sure, let's force quit out of everything other than the programs we're using. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my computer's not in a good mood. It's doing that that slow kind of turn. So I'm trying to force quit. Let's see if it lets me. So we don't need some of these programs open. I'm going to go ahead and quit every program we don't need to open. And we'll see if that helps. This is the downside of working digitally. Okay. Hopefully that helped. I closed out of a couple programs. And I'm hoping that means I won't have to restart the stream. Let me know in chat if you guys are experiencing a lot of delays on my end visually, or if that's just me on my end. Okay, so what we're going to do here is now we're going to make this magenta again, and we'll move on to the next row of the audience. But do you see how like those heads, I know they seem like little details, but it actually starts feeling very realistic. And we haven't put in a lot of work yet, but it's already to me very convincing as a crowd. It doesn't look like I just drew a bunch of circles. It's a small difference, but it makes a big difference to me. So again, like when I figured this out years ago, this It's made my life a lot easier because crowd scenes were always hard to pull off. Especially in complex environments, like in this case, it's literally like this giant theater. It's going to be a lot easier to kind of do the audience that's in these side things, like the little, you know, little side rooms. So we're starting with the hardest one, and then we're going to kind of work our way from there. Okay, so now we're going to just do the same thing. Like now the heads are a little bigger, slightly bigger, maybe not that much bigger. They're going to be slightly bigger, and they're going to be filling these seats. And maybe this person's turning. Maybe we'll have somebody on the other side kind of turning their head and talking. It's a magic show, so most people are going to be pretty attentively looking, but maybe we'll have a person here. Yeah, we don't want to have too much of that turning and looking stuff going. So this person's head is going to be here. And again, we're just kind of working our way through it. And you're going to notice some little details that I included are going to get covered up, like that person whispering. That's okay. That's kind of what makes it very much more realistic once we get to like filling it out. I think here we're going to have this person kind of turning to their partner, and maybe they're whispering. Let's see. Maybe they're going to be whispering to their or talking to their person as well. And we're still going to have like little details of Robert in there for anyone who cares to look when they get the final book, right? Let's see here. In this case, just to keep that Robert section a little bit clearer, maybe we'll have him kind of leaning back, like, huh. And this head's going to have to be tilted a little bit more up. So it's not completely blocking Robert. And we're going to have another head here. This person's gleefully watching their show. We'll have another head here. And this person's just chilling, enjoying the show. We'll have somebody here whose head is a little more centered. And maybe we'll have this person a little more tilted again. And we'll have this person, finally, we get to fill out this other side of the seat. Maybe leaning back? No, that's too low. And again, I'm not like too worried about structure right now because again, we're going to work out those details later on. We're just basically filling in some rough little sections here. Because I have my main focus kind of worked out. So now I can go in and erase out all the magenta lines that they would be covering. And you can also do this backwards, which might actually save you time if you are so inclined, where you could go from the front row to the back, kind of filling in whatever's not going to be covered by those in the front row. For me, I'm doing it this direction partially because I have characters in the front row that I don't want to cover, so it's better for me to work backwards than forwards in this sense. I think if I had characters that I didn't want like the careful observer to be able to see, then I would probably maybe start with the front row. Like, I guess not the front row, the back row, and kind of work my way forward. Because then you're causing yourself a lot less drawing. But because of what I want the focus on, I find it easier to kind of work my way back. Also, I find that if you start forward, you don't have all those details that you're erasing away to like have the seat locations and stuff like that. So we'll go back to our lines and we'll start erasing areas of line that we wouldn't see through. Leaving, of course, the chairs that aren't being covered. And you'll notice a lot of the chairs get covered. But you're going to see little indications of chairs still. And again, you end up with this like much more believable crowd. I think. Just you have more divergence in the positioning. The circles actually make sense. Once you add like a few tiny little details to these people, it's going to look like, holy crap, like this is like a Where's Waldo page, you know? That's the hope. We'll see. I need to save again because my computer's not happy. Philip said, I'm just listening while making dinner, so I'm not watching, but I haven't heard any freezing. That's good. As long as the audio is consistent, I think we can deal with occasional delays on the video. Although, honestly, if those are happening, my apologies. I apologize. I forget what that's from. Does anybody know where that originates from? There's some famous apology where they apologized and said, I apologize. People quote it, and I have no idea what it's from. I'm sure it's like some politician or something. Long ago, someone apologized and it became kind of a meme. It might have been George Bush. It might have been George Bush. Or George Bush Jr. Okay, now we're going to go in, and again, we're going to merge this new layer down. And as we're building this out, you know, we're kind of making a more and more convincing crowd scene. If you guys don't think cartoonists are insane, then look at the ridiculousness that I'm going through to make a convincing crowd scene with details that barely anyone's going to notice. But I will. I'll know it's there. I'll know it's a believable crowd scene. And on to the next layer. And let's play another trailer real quick. I'm going to get a refill of water just to keep my head in the game so I don't lose patience. Because this page, to me, for maximum impact, needs to have a lot of patience to the execution. I'm going to go in and add a bunch of little details to kind of make the people feel more real. And it's going to be so much fun. But it's going to require a lot of patience. So again, we're going to play a trailer. And let's see. This one will be Wordzoid by Jim Lujan. And then we'll be back to rock and roll this ridiculous crowd scene.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm going to have to go with Karen Carpenter.
Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won.
Trish, you've won a copy of 2 stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
My wife went to the Walgreens, and I was feeling pretty exhausted from working on this page earlier because it was such a beast. So anyhow, I asked her to pick me up a Monster energy drink, which I know is like not great for your heart. But I've been working out every single day, and so I think I can afford a Monster energy drink to try to get through this page. So that's what I've got here. I don't know why I don't really like energy drinks, but there's something about Monster that I think is really tasty. And, you know, I'm not like sponsored by Monster or anything. But I do really enjoy Monster energy drinks. They're pretty good. I like them much more than like Red Bull. Do you guys have a preferred energy drink? Also, do you guys hear the chaos in this house? There's like dance music, there's fish tank refills. It's lovely. It's like it's one of my favorite things about working from home actually is like hearing everybody kind of hanging out, doing their thing. So the heads are just getting a little bit bigger, right? And we're just kind of filling in these spaces, and it's going to go a lot quicker because these are much more separated, right? Because they're closer to us, so the seats are further apart. And we can add like little personalities and costumes and all sorts of stuff to these chairs, to these people. And what's great is half of the detail that we're going to have to draw gets taken out. This is why I love the cyan and magenta effect of this. So at the end, it's going to look very, you know, like I'm not going to get like heavily into detail on these characters. It's just their placement will be so much more convincing this way. And again, this is one of the tricks I've used to draw crowd scenes. Back in the day, like pre-digital, what you would do is you'd work on your environment, and then you'd throw like a layer of tracing paper over your environment, and then draw your character into your environment. So it almost worked like a cell, like an animation cell. Philip said, I have a friend who drinks those in Rockstar. I find them kind of gross, too much for me. But hey, if it works for you. Yeah, I don't know what it is about the monsters in particular aren't gross to me. Whereas Rockstars are really hard to drink. Everything okay?
Yes. The tube kind of fell out when I was trying to fill the water started going before I cut it back.
So my wife had a pump going, and I think accidentally was pumping water out of the tank before she had it in there. Very funny. All right, so we have our stuff here, and like again, the beauty is the more I work this out, like the less I'm going to have to draw. But hopefully, in theory, when you look at this, it's going to look very much like, you know, very believable. It'll the perspective should, in theory, add up. Hopefully, it won't pull you out of the scene. And again, maybe this is just a little detail that, you know, only like 3 people will notice. But to me, cartooning's all about that. Cartooning's all about, you know, one of my favorite things about Chris Ware is he's doing half of what he does for other artists. You know, because he could probably get away. Like, he's a pretty darn good writer. He could probably get away with a lot less like little subtle details and cartoonist trickery to do his stuff. But I think he throws in a lot of that stuff for fellow graphic designers and illustrators to be like, how in the world do you do this, Mr. Ware? That's kind of half the secret I'm going for here. So now we've got this going. We have less and less details that we're going to have to iron out or shade, which is great. And we're almost through the first chunk of crowd, at least the structural lines for them. So it's kind of a game of patience, but in a weird way, by doing this game of patience, it's going to save me a lot of time in the long run. And it might even look like I spent more time than I really did on it. So there we go. We've got our next audience row of heads. Very exciting. So again, I'm going to go ahead and this time we're going to go with everybody's magenta. Everybody's magenta. It's a song. Do you like it? Everybody's magenta. Okay. I thought we color filled it. Oh, did we not move it down? Did I accidentally? I thought I merged that down. Let's see. Okay, cool. I was worried that I had accidentally moved this down. So we've got our people. Lock them. Make them magenta. New layer. Cyan. I think we have 2 rows of chairs left. Two rows of chairs to go. If you were watching this and you haven't figured out yet that cartoonists are a little crazy, realize this is panel 1 of page 79. This is one panel. We're kind of nuts, okay? We're a little crazy, okay? But this is why it really irritates me when, you know, someone pretends they're really into comics and you see their comic and it's like they just knocked it out. Like they could care less about what they did. I don't know if they realize the amount of work that a lot of cartoonists put into these things. And it's not like you can still do work that doesn't look like you put in a lot of work. That's cool. You know, that's half the trick to like traditional cartooning is coming up with shorthand and stuff like that. But I do think a lot of people may not understand the honor and reverence with which people approach these things, you know. It's not about like just knocking something out quickly. It's about trying to make something really beautiful and cool. And sometimes that might mean taking this little extra step, whereas you could just draw a bunch of circles because you care about it, right? I don't know if that makes sense, but I think there's a level of care that a lot of cartoonists and animators bring to their work. And that doesn't mean it can't look sloppy, but like the artists that I know who even have really loose styles or really silly cartoony styles, they honor the medium by spending the time. And I really encourage people to do that. And if you feel like, wow, these things take forever, they do. That's the big secret. I think that's the biggest secret of illustration, of finishing books, of finishing comics. I think the big secret is it just takes a lot of time. If you talk to most writers, I met up with a pretty well-known writer like on Friday, and we're potentially collaborating on something. And he said, I think something like his books usually take him, like a script will take him about 9 months to complete, and that's just text. And this is a guy who's written like hundreds of novels and stuff. And it's like, okay, so he's written hundreds of novels, and even after like hundreds of novels, it still takes him, 9 months. This is a very seasoned writer. It takes him 9 months to write something that he feels good about. And the draft I looked at of script was like, for a graphic novel that we might collaborate on, was like the 7th draft of a script. So it's like, and honestly, they weren't even sure if that was the final draft. They were like, I don't know, because there's still some stuff I think I need to work out. Like they're ready for their editor to come in. There's a couple seats I need to fill out on this corner, but we're getting closer. Yeah, Gary said, I 100% agree on going the extra mile. It's at best a gesture of care and affection for the audience. It's the equivalent of serving dinner to guests on nice dinnerware rather than paper plates. Yeah. And I mean, there's a style that's like a paper plate style. There's certain restaurants where you would expect paper plates. You know what I mean? You're not expecting fine dining all the time. Sometimes it's great to just get like, go to like a really good wing place and you get a basket that's just filled with stuff. There's usually some tenderness to how the food is served, even when it's like fast food. Like there's something about it that's a care to the thing. And especially if you're not trying to make fast food, then if you're not trying to make fast food, then spend the time on the food to make it good food. If you're planning on serving fast food, have something about that fast food, right? But again, I've met artists that I thought, like looking at their work, I was like, this must be approached like fast food, and it's not. It's like you find out there is something they labor over. There's always like something that most of the people who are doing this and have been doing this for a while bother to do that others don't. It's kind of a weird thing. And a lot of it's just doing the work. Like a lot of people just want to avoid the work of the thing, because they're like, oh, it's art, it should be fun. And it's like, no, art is work. Like it can be fun, but a lot of it's just sitting down and doing the work. And I think there's a respect that other creators have when you see other people's work and you can tell they're putting in the work. That it just inevitably is going to happen from other creators, because they're going to know, like, oh, okay, you're actually putting in the time and the work. But what do I know, I know for me that unlocked the whole thing, though. For me, that was like a big changing point in my art, was just the realization, oh, I just need to spend the time. That was it. Especially because I'm not a quick artist. And so my superpower has always been, I'll stay up till 2 a.m. when you go to bed at 9. And my stuff will look better in the end, because I'm gonna outwork you. I always will. Now, keep in mind, I know people like, there's this kid, Dave Baker. I call him a kid. He's not a kid. He's an incredible artist. He's done way more graphic novels than I have. I don't know. I don't think the guy ever sleeps. That guy works harder than anyone I know. I think Jim knows him too. And it's like, he's just always working. But that's his superpower right there. It's like, he's a killer artist. He's very quick. There's a lot of things, but at the end of the day, what it comes down to is he's just willing to work harder than most people. And so he has like a bunch of books under his belt. I think a lot of people want a magic trick that makes it easy. It's kind of like Elizabeth in these stories, where Elizabeth is looking for a way to contact her dead brother. And so she's looking at like seances and stuff, and she wants to believe it's real, but it's like, it's not real. I think the shortcut or like the easy path is usually fiction. There's a reason people say, hey, if something's too good to be true, there's a reason that's a truism. But what do I know, Okay. Look at that, though. The crowd is starting to fill up, and it's starting to look pretty believable. And we're almost done. We have one more row to go. Because while we see the chairs, there's going to be the row in front of these people. Well, there's actually 2 more rows. So we have this kind of interesting side seating here where, there's another layer of seats. I'm also trying to see. Yeah, I think I missed an erase point, which is going to be this right here. But there's another layer of seats kind of over here that I want to address. And then from there, we'll get into the last layer of heads, the heads closest to us. So first, we'll do these seats. These are going to be much closer to us, so they're much bigger heads. They should be a little lower, though. Let me make sure I center it. This might just be overall covering that head in front of it, which is fine. And this is going to be another head. But yeah, it's funny how like people always want shortcuts, and it's just not. I'd love a shortcut too. I'd love to find like a magic trick that just makes everything quicker. And there are some shortcuts you can use, but a lot of the artists I know, that's kind of one of the things that makes them great is they don't do shortcuts. They just spend the time. If you have a scene where you have to draw like a giant auditorium, draw it bravely. Take the time. It'll be worth it. Or maybe it won't, but at least you know you tried, Okay. So now I'm gonna go ahead and merge those, and then we're gonna do heads. And those heads, I'm gonna merge down. I'm gonna lock this, make it all magenta, and now we're gonna go to cyan for our front heads. And we're in a pretty good space here. Let's just do 100% cyan. And let's draw our people. Save. Yeah, Gary said, I think when done well, the reader gets that. They feel on some level grateful you worked hard for them. Yeah, I think that's part of the art thing, about it. What I like to think about is like why people like Apple so much, And this doesn't always work this way, but one of the things that built Apple as a company was that like opening an Apple product is like an experience of its own. Like they take their time with the packaging and really they revolutionized packaging. I think a lot of people who weren't there to kind of see the growth of Apple as a company really are like may not even be aware how much Apple kind of changed the game of packaging. But Apple was really unique for a long time of being like one of the few companies where you would open a product and everything about the packaging was custom. It was all thought out, simple, and it's like an elegant experience unwrapping and unpackaging an Apple product. And that experience in its own was like kind of unnecessary in a weird way. It's like the product itself is why you're buying it. Like, why not just put it in like a cheap box? There was something about the fact that the box itself was considered, that like everything about it, like where the cables would be was considered. There was a spot for everything and no waste. It was all considered. And I think that actually really made consumers really be loyal to Apple. I'll fully admit I am one of the people who drinks the Apple punch. I love Apple products. One of the reasons too is that while they're not the most affordable, they vet their parts. And so like when you buy an Apple computer, like in general, it's going to last a pretty long time because everything, including the memory card, was like really considered, really well sourced, really well designed. And it's like a package that is going to be quality. So there's something kind of cool about that. I'd rather be that, with my comics. Even on things that look real sloppy and quick, I want it to all be considered. I want the whole package to be a really cool experience for people, with the art. That's, I think that's worthwhile. I think that's worthwhile even with, stuff that's not art, but I think that's kind of one of the things that brings the art to it, the artisanal nature of it. Yeah, Gary said, I want D versus M's to feel like a home cooked meal, not delivery pizza. Yeah. I think we just need one more head here. And then we're good. I kind of like it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and lock this. I'm going to make everything behind it blue. Wait, we don't want to make it blue yet. We need to go in there and erase everything that's being covered by this head structure stuff. And then we can come in and kind of really, really fill it out. And then we'll get into the theater seating, the theater side seats. And from there, we'll have our like structures, and then we'll go in and do our final details. And I think there's just enough indication of Robert and Elizabeth back there to where people who are reading it will be able to find them in the crowd. We're going to have a closer shot of them a few panels later, but at least this gets us a little bit closer to those characters. And now there's some crowd scenes where it's just going to be close to impossible to kind of color every single human in there. But I think if you can kind of do this, it's going to work a lot better. That's my own opinion. There's definitely ways to use lighting and trickery to kind of avoid this, but I want all those structural lines there. That's just my own thing. Okay. Now we're going to get in there, and now we're going to erase everything black that these characters in cyan are covering. It's pretty much everything they're covering. And then we'll see how much of the seats. You'll see so much like most of the seats now are gone. Have you noticed that? It's kind of fun, but it's like most of those seats that I drew in there initially have just disappeared almost entirely. Which is kind of as it should be. And now we're just erasing out the areas that should be covered. And I think that gets us close, although I missed this head. This head needs erasure. Not the band erasure, okay? Okay. There we go. We have our crowd scene kind of worked out. Our heads kind of blocked in there. It's not entirely finished yet, but it's a start to filling up this auditorium with people. Now, this is just the backs of their heads. Okay, so now I'm going to basically, we're going to merge down again. Merge down. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this as people. And there's our crowd. Look at that. Now we need to go and work on the auditoriums on the side, blocking those in. And then we'll get in and we'll work out details on all these specific people, which is going to be a lot of fun. But first we need to play another trailer. So let's play the trailer for, let's see here. Which trailer should we play? Let's play Christopher Runciman's review of Jacob's Apartment.
Hi, my name's Chris and I like comics. I want to talk about this comic for a second here. I just got this in. I ordered it direct from my local comic shop through Diamond Distributing. It's Joshua Kemble's Jacob's Apartment. I really enjoyed this book. There's all kinds of comics out there, let's be honest. There's fun comics, there's superhero comics, there's young adult comics, there's adventure comics for kids. There's so many different things under the planet. But there's also an entire subgenre of alternative books. Real life, real world depictions in comic book form. Situations that happen to each and every one of us. And this is a fine example of that. If you get a chance, order this book from your local comic shop. You won't be disappointed. I can't sing its praises high enough. Okay? Check it out. Jacob's Apartment by Joshua Kemble.
All right. We're filling our auditorium with people like lunatics. Okay, so we're going to start with the furthest, just like we did with this. And then we'll kind of work our way forward. So I'm going to start with over here. And here it's kind of fun because it's like more standing room. And so we'll be able to have a little bit more gesture of people. I think what we'll do here, I'm going to just call this seated people. And then this is going to be the standing people. So again, a lot of this is going to just be like doodles almost at the end, but we're just getting the structural lines in there. And the nice thing is those will do like half the work. By the way, we're about an hour and a half in. If you guys haven't clicked like, what are you doing? Help me out. Hook me up with a like there. This person's just going to be leaning, kind of casually leaning across. Maybe leaning forward. Maybe he's got a proper lady standing there. Maybe she's standing more in the background here next to him. And she's standing there. Nice. We're drawing these people pretty big too. We're actually drawing them a little bit big for the proportion of the building, but that's so that the magician can really stand out. And that's great. We have Corey Kerr joining us. Let me make sure we hook things up. Ladies and gentlemen, Corey, give me a thumbs up if you're ready. Oh, you're already on. How's it going, bud?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm
man?
hearing slapback.
All right, hold on.
Slapback is when you have the volume on for anybody listening, and the volume starts kind of reflecting and picking up on the other mic. It's also when somebody slaps you and you slap them back. I'm here to state the obvious. How's it going? I think this person's going to be using those like Victorian binocular things. The like opera glasses.
I feel like you're like killing it on bad jokes today.
I'm trying. I feel like I've leveled up on the dad jokes quite a bit. I usually spill most of them into Christopher Runciman's comments section whenever he's going live.
Oh, it's funny.
Maybe this person's leaning here. Yeah, they're going to be kind of casually leaning. Okay, we're drawing figures. Drawing 1 million people. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
Better now. I've spent the last like 3.5 days doing nothing but grading.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Grading or procrastinating and avoiding grading, which is almost as bad because it doesn't feel like you're allowed to do anything else. Yeah, it's been good. Good now that I'm done.
Sounds good. Well, congrats on finishing that. That's a beast.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, the whole semester. It's all over now. So now I get to move on with my summer.
What are your thoughts on the whole like time thing? Like the trick of actually taking the time.
The trick of it? I don't know.
That, like, I feel like as a young artist, I was always looking for shortcuts. And I mean, there is an extent where you need to learn, but like slowing down and actually getting it right, or like redoing, or taking the time that you need to take. Like, it's a weird thing to kind of explain, especially to like students, actually, where it's like, when a student rushed something and they needed like 16 more hours on a project, and you're like, what you need right now is 16 hours, nothing else, like just 16 hours. And they're like, I don't blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, everyone in your class spent 16 more hours than you. That's the trick. It's kind of a weird thing. I don't know. It's a hard thing to get artists to kind of unlock. But at the same time, it's a fine balance because there's people I think like you and I, who might be tempted to spend, we might have the opposite problem where we might spend too much time.
Yeah, I think that's the balance.
Yeah.
Is you gotta figure out when it makes sense and
Yeah.
whatnot. But I don't know. I think it depends. Because I kind of like pouring a bunch of work into it.
Yeah.
But some of the most popular things I've done have taken me like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I've said that before too, because that Kermit the Frog X-ray,
Yeah.
that is probably my most known design. You know, if anybody's curious, you can just look it up. It's, I think, for sale on Design by Humans, but and I think maybe on T-Fury too. But it's like just an X-ray of Kermit the Frog. That took me 30 minutes.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so I don't know. What do I know?
I don't know. It's probably like fit for purpose, right? You've got to figure out like what makes sense for what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
Because it's the same thing as a bunch of other stuff we talked about. Like if my goal was to sell T-shirts, I would not be drawing any of the things that I'm drawing. So
Yeah.
that's not my goal. I would like to. That's a goal, but my main goal is to get certain messages across and enjoy myself in particular styles while I'm doing it. But I mean, you know, I could just draw, you know, a bunch of mashup fan art stuff and it would move, and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing too, because it's like, yeah, I don't know how much of my soul I'm gonna have to sell out as I'm heading into new territories. I'm very
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of that's the balance, right? You've got to find that,
Yeah.
you know, balance of opportunity costs that allow you to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, my goal would be, you know, if I could choose everything, is to have like an infinite amount of money and resources and a paid off house and be able to make whatever I want whenever I want. But like,
Yeah.
you know, we all have to kind of like play the balancing act of client work and day job and personal projects and, you know, the kind of weird Venn diagram of those two things. And
Yeah, I'm really hoping this, because I do have a brief window of time where I can make a pitch with this author, and I really like the script, and so I'm a little hopeful that that might actually be the thing I could do for the next year if we can pick up a really good deal. And that's really ambitious and kind of weird to say, because like the likelihood of getting an advance that large is pretty slim, even with an author with that many books under their belt. But
it's
with
slim,
an
but not
author with that
unheard
many,
of.
yeah, with an author with that many books under their belt, it might actually be possible. So I'm actually
Right.
really strangely optimistic about it. And again, that might be idealism, but weirdly enough, like idealism's got me a long way in my art career, you know, just trying for like weird stuff that like, you know, a lot of people would be like, well, that's not safe. It's like, yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't know if safe's always the way to go, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Flash forward to like 4 months from now, and I'm like, I need work. You know, like who knows?
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, we're all a couple of weeks or a couple months away from that at any given time. Like,
I want to
never
highlight
really know.
what Jim said. He said, "Oh my gosh, there's such a delay." Okay, can you keep the noise down? I'm trying to sleep on the beach. Jeez. And then he said, hashtag Santa Barbara humble brag.
I got a rope hammock. I had a cloth hammock in my front yard, and I got a rope hammock. It's like 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
So wait, a cloth hammock versus a rope hammock. The only hammocks I've ever really been on are like the big rope one with like there's like a metal, usually like frame around it or something.
Yeah.
Those are pretty awesome.
Yeah,
They're a little more sturdy, I think.
I have the metal frame, and then I have kind of, I don't know, a few years ago before they got really expensive, I was like when you could buy them for like $20. I got a bunch of those parachute hammocks, and they're nice. But my buddy across the street, he's got like one of those like rope hammocks where they like tie all the knots and they kind of like interweave it. So instead of being totally covered by something, you're supported, but there's still mostly air. And today it's 95, and so I was laying in my rope hammock, and it was pretty good.
Nice.
So
sounds very nice. I have been drawing a stupid theater all day. That's been my day. I've been drawing a theater scene that is one panel that somebody will spend maybe a minute looking at.
Yeah, you know, I was one of those things that I thought was really interesting that you were talking about. Sean Gordon Murphy was saying a while ago, he was like, yeah, everybody always says, hey, people are only going to look at this for a couple of seconds, so, you know, just, you know, don't kill yourself over it or whatever. And he said, my goal is to get them to look at it for longer than a couple of seconds. And so I throw a lot into it.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty good kind of way of describing that situation.
Yeah, I think that here's the thing. Comics pay crappy, like regardless. Even if you get a huge advance, it's still like compared to the amount of work that you do for just illustration work or something like that, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So to make it worth it, you need to make something worth it. And if you're not making something worth it, then why do comics? Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense. It's kind of like if you were to get into a niche field, like you want to be a ragtime pianist or something.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to get into doing ragtime piano for a living, you're probably not going to make a ton of money. So you should be really good at it. Like, you know, if you're going to work on cars in your garage, it's a very expensive hobby. So if you're going to do it, you know, like really restore a car, like really get into it. That's my only point. You know, it's like, it's an art form and treat it like art, because otherwise, like, there's really I don't see the point, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of my take on it, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also, like, the downside is we all look at people like Sean Gordon Murphy and we go, "Wow, that's cool. I want to do that," or "I'd love to make something like that," and that's probably half the trick. I mean, a lot of it's raw talent and stuff like that, but behind the talent, there's also, he's probably dedicating like hours longer than most people on his stuff. That's probably why it's so good.
Well, yeah, and he can't do a monthly, and he's full time.
Yeah,
and it's because I think he says he does a page every day and a half if he's really flying on things. So yeah.
So anyhow,
there's trade-offs.
That's my weird conviction on it. I feel like, you know, you got to spend the time you want. Even that 30-minute drawing I did of Kermit the Frog, I did take the time to make it look like an authentic X-ray, and I think that's why it got so viral. Yeah. Because, you know, the bit wouldn't be as funny if it wasn't like, it didn't look like an actual X-ray. It looks pretty authentic, to the point where I've literally had X-ray technicians email me and say, dude, I love this thing because it's like a really accurate X-ray. And I've been like, that's interesting. I had no idea, you know?
Right.
So that's the thing, is like, if you're going to do it, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. If it takes 30 minutes to get it perfect to what you envision, then great. But I think all of us know inside when we're not spending the time we need to on something, you know? I think there's like a gut feeling where you're like, you know, it's like that time you think about, this would be really cool if I did this, but I don't have the time. And the second you think that, you're probably rushing and probably shouldn't be, you know? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it makes sense.
This is going to be a rad scene, guys.
When you say should, I think it depends on what you mean by should. Because, I mean, there like I'll agree with that on personal projects, but there's always a balance of, could I get 3 more projects done this year, or, or not, if I make certain decisions. So I mean, certain things, at some, you have to draw the line at some point. Like you got to draw the line somewhere to say, I will do anything for this comic, but I won't do that, and just follow Meatloaf's advice.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get that. I'm just saying, I've even found this with client work. It took me about a year, my first year doing illustrations, where, illustration, is a weird field where, beating deadlines is really good. It can increase your revenue, because if you just wait for deadlines to get your illustrations done, you're not going to be making the maximum income you could. Because at the end of the day, like, beating deadlines allows you to take on.
Oh, did you freeze, or is that me?
More money. I think I froze. My computer's been really weird.
Okay, I couldn't tell if that was.
It's just having issues because I'm using the brush so often. Can you hear me though?
Oh right. Yeah, but you're like sped up. I wonder if that was weird. I think.
Oh, I'm my voice is sped up.
Yeah, I think StreamYard, when there's a freeze, it tries to catch up by speeding up the audio.
Nice. Did I sound like a chipmunk for a second?
For a moment. On my end, I don't know what the audience is hearing.
I hope you guys heard me as like a really rad member of the Chipmunks.
Which one? Simon?
Theodore.
Theodore? Yeah, Theodore.
I mean, everybody would say Alvin, because he's like the key guy, but I feel like of the Chipmunks, I'm more like the chill, effeminate guy in the background, getting all the ladies.
Theodore was effeminate?
Wasn't he?
No, he was like a tall, skinny, nerdy dude, but I wouldn't call him effeminate.
Which one's the chubby one?
Simon, I think. Now I'm questioning it all. Hold on.
I thought Theodore was the chubby kind of one who got all the ladies.
You may be right. Hold on. Alvin. Simon Theodore.
Now we're having an existential discussion. You guys, we were trying for a non-spicy stream. How spicy can you get? We're having a Chipmunks argument.
I got them mixed up. I was thinking that Simon, the nerdy one with the glasses, was Theodore, but you're right.
That's right. Come at me, Corey. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I actually honestly wasn't sure either. It's been a long time since I watched that cartoon.
It's funny how certain I was of that until you were like, I don't think that's it. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I have no idea why I was so certain.
Yeah, I'm like questioning my chipmunk knowledge.
Yeah, I will never do that again.
Now I can be wrong. I've earned the right to be wrong now about something.
Theodore the Chipmunk died in 1969, and they replaced it with a clone.
Shh! Don't tell anyone, Jim. We're on live air.
Vic
Can't
says
tell.
Simon is the slender, and Theodore is squat.
Alvin, Simon, and Theodore. And Simon was actually had a spin-off series called Simon and Simon.
That's a deep cut for me. I don't know what that is.
Which, by the way, had one of the raddest theme songs of any TV show.
What is that show?
Simon and Simon was I can't even really remember. It had a bald guy and he wore cowboy hats a lot. He was kind of like a Paul Newman-ish guy. And then and he was kind of rough and tumble, and then there was the kind of well-to-do yuppie with the like blonde hair, and I think they were brothers who were like detectives, I think. Yeah, I'd need to rewatch it, but I remember it had a rad guitar solo on the theme song. You know who would know all the details of it? Is Mr. Jim Lujan.
Yeah.
I feel like Jim has a plethora of... Like, you know how he's been doing game shows lately? He did his game show spot the full fungus is gonna have like a game show section. I feel like Jim should have a game show because he is like a quiz show type guy. I feel like Jim would know a lot of weird esoteric knowledge, especially about old TV shows.
I would love to see Jim and Creed Stonegate do that together.
And Gary. I think Gary has a pretty good knowledge of... Like, they would be a killer quiz show team, you know? Creed would cover all the cartoon knowledge.
Yeah.
So I feel like Creed knows a bunch of obscure 80s cartoons in particular that like none of us have heard of.
And he like owns them.
Yeah.
He's I mean, that guy's collection has got to be super legit.
He's like the guy who you talk about, like, remember G.I. Joe? And he's like, yeah, on episode 3 at, you know, minute 5. And you're like, okay, that's a little deeper than I go, you know? I just kind of remember the movie and some of the episodes.
I don't remember the movie. I remember, like, vague things. Like, I remember the twins would feel each other's injuries. Like, if you hit one of them, the other one would get hurt.
I just remember being really bummed about Serpentor because I felt like he was a really lame boss, and I was like, I'm like, you guys have built up Cobra so much, and Serpentor just comes and like sets him aside like no problem. What kind of villain is Cobra if Serpentor could take him out that easy?
Well, I mean, that was like an '80s thing because Hordak did that to Skeletor.
Yeah. Well, and they had a thing before it with now I'm forgetting his name, Destro. I think Destro kind of overthrew Serpentor once.
Yeah.
You know, so they were always looking to take the throne of Serpentor, of Cobra. But it's like, why take Cobra's throne? Like, Cobra was the best villain. Like, he had a really cool, rad, kind of snake-like voice.
Yeah, but Destro was pretty rad.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it is cool to have...
He had, like, the metal face.
Yeah. Yeah. He made balding cool, you know?
Yeah.
For my brothers in arms that are my age and are not so fortunate to have this lovely chia pet of hair on their head, that I have been as fortunate to maintain, you know, it's good to have, like, bald role models like Destro out there, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I have to disappear for a minute because we're at the 2-hour mark. So do you wanna let people know where they can find your stuff instead of a trailer? Because I'd love for more people to be picking up your anti-phone phone cases. Maybe you could talk about those. Okay.
Sure. I'm just I found it. I am trying to find public domain etchings right now, but if you are interested in my stuff, you can go to CoreyKerr.com. There's a big button right there. And if you click on that, it'll take you to the anti-phone phone cases. And you can also look at any of this stuff. So there's that. I'm working on a Go Make Stuff phone case as well right now. But I'm going to play with it a little bit. So this, by the way, if you're wondering, is I've overlaid every Samsung phone and iPhone template on top of each other so that I can make one design that works for every phone. That's my new secret here. So I like come in and I have every single phone so you can see, like, you know, the S10 FE, the S10, the S10 Plus, right? And so I've just overlaid all of those over each other. Here's the 14 Pro Max, the 14 Pro, 14 Plus. And then I just come in and I'm going to design something that fits in all of those spaces. So, like, kind of right up here is kind of off limits a little bit. Anyway,
nice.
That's what I'm doing.
Making templates. Templates, ladies and gents.
Yep. Well, that way you can tell, you know, where you're allowed to put stuff.
Templates are key, man. Like, it's like even with comics, it's like a lot of people make the mistake when they start a comic to not consider the template. And it's kind of unfortunate because you'll see a lot of like first time comics that are like more beautifully drawn than anything I used to draw, my first comic. But they don't look as professional because they didn't use a template. And they weren't thinking about like bleed and safe areas and spine and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about that, it's kind of like the superpower of time, where that's the superpower that Corey talks a lot about, which is back planning. And back planning will give you a heads up over anyone not back planning. Like 9 times out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're taking the luck out of the process,
Okay, San Francisco Photograph Collection Database.
Just kind of working out poses here in cyan of people. And I'm going to redraw. Like, now, if I were lazy, I could just flip this and have the same crowd. But I am not going to do that because I want to drive other artists nuts when they see this panel.
See, what I would do in that situation is I would flip it, and then I would polygonal lasso a few of them and just move them around.
Yep, not going to do that. Not going to do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Was that Dana Carvey?
I believe that was Dana Carvey doing Church Lady, right?
No, it was George Bush, like the senior,
yeah.
not the second, but the first president, George Bush.
Yeah,
and I think the funny part about it is it's a really good example of like a impression that actually doesn't sound like the guy,
right?
But just the cadences are so dead on. Like it just feels like the aura of him is in that statement. Like, not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent. Wouldn't be right. But it's like the whole time it doesn't actually sound like Bush. It just felt like him somehow. It's like one of those weird, those kind of almost like higher level impressions. Yeah. Anyhow.
Yep. Sorry, I was reading.
That's okay. How dare you read, Corey? You should just look up Wikipedia articles, That's all.
Well, I'm trying to find high-res prints of stuff that are in the public domain. So I'm looking through this archive, and then I find a drawing that I like. Commons. Yeah, I'm going to check there. I'm also going to check the Internet Archive as well, because they have a bunch of images as well. Nice. I want to go to the Wayback Machine. I want to go to John McLaren Ralston. Nope.
John McCain.
McLaren.
Okay, so we are getting through these little structural drawings of figures in this theater with the hope that eventually this looks awesome. And if this doesn't look awesome, this might be a stream that just ends in me crying and saying I'm a failure. And, at that point, I can embrace being a lol cow and call it a day.
A lol cow. Oh, boy.
People start tuning into my stream like, he's going to do a crowd scene and freak out again. Like, sorry guys, no crowd scenes today. They're like, oh, never mind. Next time.
Let's see.
So, since you're finishing grading, does that mean you're done? Like, you have a little break coming up?
I do. I am in my break right now. I put my automatic reply, out of office reply on my email.
Nice.
So this is break time.
Smooth.
Yeah. Should be good.
So you get like a good month or something? Or wait, no, you get like quite a few months, right?
I get 6 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's pretty dang good. Pretty dang good. I think this guy, I'm trying to see if he has.
I feel like I want to have somebody back here almost like walking, just to give it like a little bit of variety. We got somebody invading us, you guys. We're being invaded by some strange Santa Barbaran right now.
What part
Mr.
of
Lujan.
I'm trying to take a nap at the beach. What part of that did you not understand?
Do you know how your phone works,
Jim?
Guys?
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear us?
Can you not hear us?
We have our live reporter on the scene at the beach. How is the beach, Mr. Lujan?
Jim is coming to us at a blazing fast 6 frame rates per second.
Beach. Ocean.
You got to do like a weather report, like, ladies and gentlemen, the shark attack happened yesterday at this location.
They call it the beach, but it's really a bloodbath. What started out as a fun day at the beach turned out to be an ocean of death.
And then I'll be like, well, Jim, how's it going out there? How's the weather? Are the survivors okay from the shark attack out there?
The fish have turned gay from the estrogen pumped into the ocean. This has been. So
I didn't realize that was such a common thing, that like people literally think there's like estrogen being pumped into the water to make men more effeminate. I didn't know that was a whole thing.
Can you see my boat? Right.
Oh, nice boat.
Yep.
Nice.
There's my boat. I didn't dock it. I didn't put the anchor down.
And it just sailed away.
Yes.
That's okay. You have plenty more where that came from. I think Corey. Oh wait, I disappeared for a second there. My connection's worse than Jim's.
Yeah, I'm on location. So.
I know.
I just really wanted to also interject and tell you that Simon the Chipmunk, his last name was Laban.
Laban?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yes. So.
I also realize right now I'm frozen, but I think my audio is coming through.
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay.
We're messing up everything. So,
really am. Simon Laban. I like it.
So we came out to Santa Barbara, and I genuinely, we have our chairs and everything, and I really did fall asleep at the beach. We're at a park right by the beach, and then I woke up and I saw that you guys were live, and then I was listening to you half asleep, but now I'm fully awake.
Sorry for waking you up, Jim. We'll try to keep it down.
Yeah, if you could. I mean, I'm cool with you guys having parties and stuff. But, I have to work in the morning. So, I'm just, I get it, guys. I was young.
You were? Wait,
like, hey, I'm hip. I listen to Tim Pool. I know what's going on.
Guys, I'm hip, man. I'm into all the latest bands like Blondie and stuff, man. So it's just, it's just that your mother and I, we were worried about you. And so, anyways, but I will bid you adieu. And Corey, since you are Malia's agent, and then you get a percentage of what I pay her for the voices that she's doing, I would say in the next 3 weeks I'm probably going to hit you guys up again for round 2 of voices.
Sounds good.
All right.
Nice.
So very nice. So
voices for what, Jim Lujan? What voices, and how can people keep track of this thing that Malia might be doing voices for?
For my new film that I'm working on when I'm not at the beach, called The Phlegm Fungus, and it is about 20% done now, I'd say. How many percent of 20 are there in 100? Like 15, 18?
6.5.
I think 2000, something like that. Yeah.
Like 2020% done.
Nice.
So anyways, this is the beach. This is the ocean. And this is where we come from.
Yeah, you guys check this out. This is why you should feel horrible that like Jim and I are stuck here in California. That we're stuck in just this awful area. You know, it's awful.
The ocean's
I feel
not
bad
real.
for you, Jim. I feel bad for you being at the ocean. Our horrible oceans in California. You know.
That's right.
Just struggling.
You know why? Here's a science fact. Do you know why the ocean is blue? What's the color blue?
Isn't it technically like a reflection of the sky? I can't remember.
That's what I thought. The actual correct answer is Scientology.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, Ron Hubbard told us all about it.
So I just wanted you to know. But all right, you guys. Okay, I'm gonna go back to where I was. I'm gonna close my eyes and I'm gonna listen to your velvet tones. Put me into slumberland if you can.
I love it. I love it. We'll try to speak in very, very soft monotone language to
By the way,
help you.
everybody at the beach thinks I'm doing a selfie right now. This is embarrassing. Okay, bye guys.
Really long, drawn out selfie.
I love it. It didn't help that Jim was doing duck lips the entire time he was on here to make the selfie thing less. You know, he was like,
Yeah,
"You guys,
that kind of sells the selfie."
Yeah, I love it. I also really love those old images. Are really rad.
Yeah.
We are getting there with this crowd scene. Problem is, when I'm drawing this many little boring people that I can't finish yet, it's just like little placeholders. Makes me need to break a little more often. So I'm going to disappear again. Corey, do you mind if I play a trailer?
Go right ahead.
All right, we're going to play... we just saw Jim Lujan, so we're going to play Wordzoid one more time. Here is Wordzoid by Jim Lujan. If you guys are watching live, you know, we're about 2 hours into this stream. If you haven't hit that like button. And here we go.
Well, Peter, since I'm such a big music fan, I'm gonna have to go with Karen Carpenter.
Oh, Stu, I'm sorry. That's the incorrect answer. Trish, what you got for us?
I'm gonna go with Kim Gordon.
All right, let's check that answer. Kim Gordon. Do we have a Kim Gordon? Yes, and that means you're our new Wordzoid champion, Trish. Dale, tell Trish what she's won. Trish, you've won a copy of 2 Stories, a memoir of faith and mental illness. Handwritten, hand-drawn, and handed to you by artist and writer Joshua Kemble. But wait, that's not all. You've also won a copy of Jacob's Apartment, the story of a doomed romance. What happens when you take Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind and put it in a blender with Ghost World? You get Jacob's Apartment, written and illustrated by Joshua Kemble. Trish, thank you for playing Wordzoid.
All right, great job, Trish.
I was told I was gonna get a lifetime supply of paper towels.
Josh isn't back. Gary says, I can't remember how to pronounce those names. Tomax and Zamet. Cobra Commander was incompetent, so everybody was just jockeying to replace him. In the show, anyway, the comic series, Cobra Commander was very effective. It was much more effective.
Are we addressing the very important Cobra Commander topic?
Yep. I was just reading Gary's thoughts on the subject.
I agree. They kind of weakened Cobra Commander in the cartoon, but in the comics, he was like a real threat, you know?
Yeah, I never read any of the comics. I didn't know that. Yeah. I lived in an area that was pretty isolated. I didn't really have much of a comic store.
Yeah, you told me about the kind of head shop that you first discovered comics at. It's funny that era.
But that was 30 miles down the road, so.
Yeah. It's funny that era, you know, like I remember I was telling this story a couple days ago about, you know, the first comic I came across was at a library. And then picking them up at like spinner racks that were at like a Read More Books, and then finally discovering like a comic shop, you know. But I actually think it's funny. Everybody talks about like how, well, not everybody, but there's a whole group of people that talk about how comics have gotten so bad and this day and age. But I'm like, I feel like now there's so much better access to comic shops for people. Am I crazy? I also feel like comic shops are so much more habitable for human beings, because the era in time when I'd go to comic shops, you'd go in there, the owner would kind of give you a look like, what are you doing in this shop?
Yeah.
And then like you'd have to kind of like earn respect at the store, and like generally it was like a really smelly place with like this long, just slew of long boxes. And it was something you had to kind of grow into. Whereas now it's like I go to a comic shop, like they have like wide aisles where people can actually be in the store, and they tend to be kind of friendly when you get there and like willing to tell you about comics and stuff. It's not like hey kid, you gotta learn the ropes before you can come in this godforsaken place that'll close in a week. I don't know. I feel like comic shops, again, maybe I've been, I grew up in a smaller town, so that might be part of it. But my experience of comic shops was very much like when I saw a comic book guy on The Simpsons, I was like, yeah, I know that guy. That's like half the guys that run the shops or go or frequent the shops that I went to,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyhow. For those who talk about the good old days of comic shops and floppy comics and stuff, it's like I don't know what days they're referring to. I don't know if they remember the old comic shops.
Well, I wonder just if they are just, kind of the bullies of their high school, and they peaked in junior high or high school.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to relive the glory days, cuz I mean,
but like none of the bullies I knew in high school were into comics. Like, they were the ones clowning me for having comics. I don't know. Maybe that's like a different era, or I don't know. Anyhow.
I'm not sure. I know the town I grew up in is weird because it doesn't align with what most people experienced growing up.
Yeah. Did you have like bully comic book nerds who were just like, hey, what are you doing, nerd? You not reading Spider-Man?
No, I don't remember really any bullies that much. I mean, I remember one time there was this kid, bullying somebody who's a couple of years younger than him, and me and this other kid went and just beat him up. But like, yeah, there wasn't a big bullying problem. I don't know. Or maybe I wasn't bullied, so I didn't know, or I wasn't aware of it, but
yeah, I don't know. Maybe you were the bully, Corey. Maybe you were the bully.
Yeah, it's going to be like a Liz
Lemon to a confrontation where I'm like, Corey, do you remember me from blah, blah, blah? And you're like, oh my gosh, it's been you this whole time.
This has been a 9-year setup for this moment.
A 9-year, what do they call it? Oh my gosh, I was noticing this on some of the conspiracy stuff I heard recently where there's what was it called? Something op? There's like a term that people use for it, like for like an op. I can't remember what it's called. But it's like conspiracy theorists believe in this idea of like this long-term secret operation, to like, it's, I can't remember what it was called. It's something op.
Huh.
But they use it so casually, like everybody uses this word about ops, and I can't remember what it was called. But anyhow, oh well.
Is it a psyop? That's what Jake is saying.
Yeah, that's it, a psyop. Yeah. Which sounded kind of cool, like Cyclops. I was like, that's pretty cool. I can see why people use that term. It's like a Cyclops, guys. What about that? Like, what about a character who uses conspiracy theories, but they use the wrong terminology?
I feel like that's. Did you ever watch that show Cow and Chicken?
Yeah, I love Cow and Chicken. That was an amazing animation. I actually really liked the style of it too. I thought that show was hilarious, man.
Yeah. Good old Cow and Chicken. And he would always use big words incorrectly.
I would love the idea of somebody saying, that's like a Cyclops, man. And like all the other conspiracy. He's like the weirdo. This would have to be like a Jim Luhan character. He'd be like the weirdo among conspiracy theorists. Like the theorists are looking at him like, this guy's, I don't know, man. He's a little out of line.
I think one of my favorite things.
He like keeps referencing like the wrong Kennedy. Everybody's like, no, it's that. Gosh, dude, come on, get with the times, you know.
JFK Senior.
Yeah, it's like his aliens are all from the wrong planet. You know, it's like he's the conspiracy theorist that can't even fit in with conspiracy theorists. I love this character already.
This needs to happen.
Yeah,
we gotta do this.
It's like, guys, we have to remember January 7th. And everybody's like, it's the 6th, man. It's the, what are you talking about? Like, the whole time. It's like, it has to happen. It has to be a real thing.
Speaking of conspiracy theories, are we talking about that publicly yet?
Oh, no, never.
Okay.
Oh, are we talking about the thing we were all talking about?
Yeah.
There is a conspiracy that might be coming soon. Let's just say that. Do you think we could actually kickstart it? I want to keep it mysterious to draw some mystery.
So? I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because I'd be down if we could kickstart it and make a little income on it. You know, I think it would be cool. But the problem is we'd have to make a couple examples of said thing.
Well, yeah. So one of the things that I was planning on doing, right, is I've got 6 weeks. I was thinking of maybe doing one of those for a warm up every day. Maybe not every day, but you know what I mean. Like, it depends on the style that we choose to do them in. Because I don't think I could do like a full fledged, you know, like highly detailed illustration.
Yeah.
But if we're doing like loose cartooning warm up style.
I think it needs to be like wacky packs, you know, but like, or you know what? Better, let's do like Bazooka Joe. Like, check out Bazooka Joe packaging and see if that would work. Because I think it would. You just have off colors like that, but like the cartooning could be real bad. Like, you know.
I don't think I could lean into that bad.
Well, no. I don't mean it. I'm just saying like thick lines and the coloring could be offset like that. Like, check out some of the actual strips.
No,
I'm just talking about more of the coloring style.
Oh yeah, coloring, sure.
Like where we could offset and pick like a really limited palette that we all use.
Do we need to have it? I guess that's another question. Does it need to be cohesive, or could it be one of those things where it's kind of a mix and match of styles?
I think the only thing we'd have to do to kind of collaborate on it would be, I think we'd want like to look at those like baseballs, you know, gross outs or whatever, like the borders that they use and like the card stats.
Yeah, no, I think we could have a template.
Yeah.
Of the card.
Yeah.
But then the art, you know, the art on the inside. I don't know. The way that I would be interested in being involved is if we could have different styles, because I'm not super.
I think we should have different styles. I think the one thing that could tie it together would be possibly picking like a limited palette or a form of execution that kind of ties it all together. But I think stylistically, it would be cool if it did vary. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, because I don't think any of us would be interested in just like working in a style guide, you know?
No, yeah, if we're matching styles, I think that would be
But if we match colors, you know, and then like, you know, like, because I think all of us are pretty comfortable working with like a limited palette, so we have some limitations that could tie it together. I think that could totally be possible, you know.
I had a thought.
We got to kind of talk to Jim and Gary too to get like, maybe we got to do like a conference call on that or something.
Yeah. I also had a thought.
Because I think we could run them through like Moo or through Cat Print. I don't know what Cat Print's like card costs are. I know they do foil though.
Yeah.
But we could, potentially like make something pretty cool happen,
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be cool. And I think if I had this idea. Gary said I stepped out. What did I miss? Gary, we are talking about but not naming the thing that only people who are subscribed to Scott's Patreon know about.
Yeah.
We're trying
the
to
conversation. The conspiracy. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, the list.
Gary.
The list of names
that shall not be spoken.
I love that. That sounds like we're making something up and is actually really accurate.
Yeah, it is. It is very conspiratorial. There's a conspiracy behind it. Gary will know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gary was like, "Oh yes," but I kind of feel like there's a way we could kickstart it, and I think make a decent enough chunk to like build the card packs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, here's my idea. I can't remember if I was talking to Gary or Jim about this. I think it was Jim. But I was thinking we should have like an Artcasters store.
Yeah.
Where we put stuff up all on the same website, and it's all like print on demand stuff, or stuff that we're willing to ship out, ourselves or whatever, and then. We just if one of your things sells, you get the cut for it. There'd be a little bit of bookkeeping and keep track of who gets royalties on what, but like we kind of pool the resources of the community because it would drive traffic to the site, right? And then everybody kind of benefits from having. If somebody shows up to look at my stuff, they see Scott's stuff and your stuff, and somebody shows up to see Gary's stuff, they see Jim's stuff, and you know what I mean? Like, but it's not one of those ones where there's 5,000 artists on there and you just lose people to fan art or whatever. I was kind of thinking that it would be kind of cool to run a little thing. Who was was it Super Deluxe? Do you remember Super Deluxe?
I kind of do. That was like the webcomic thing, right? I think it's still around. Or am I crazy? Or was that the T-shirt thing?
Super Team Deluxe, maybe?
Okay, I don't remember then.
I'm trying to think.
Because I thought there was like a Super Deluxe that used to make stuff for like a select group of web cartoonists. Maybe I'm crazy.
There might be. Yeah, Super Team Deluxe. If you go to Super Team Deluxe, you've got... It's mostly enamel pins.
Okay.
But I think it was just a couple of friends that got together and were like, "Hey, let's make a bunch of enamel pins and patches and stuff."
I love the idea. I also think there is something I've wanted to do even for this stream is just like make some custom shirts with like in jokes.
Yeah.
Because I think that would just be fun, and I would want to own those, and I think like people who listen to this stream would probably really dig a Victorian on a jet ski, fighting a monocled shark.
Oh yeah.
Or they might enjoy like a Kremlin shirt,
Oh yeah. And you have it.
Let us know in the comments.
Have it styled in the. This is Super Team Deluxe. Have it styled in the like the old Tetris style of the the old Russian buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they just they just sell enamel pins. They used to sell patches. Yeah, I have this patch, dye arting.
Nice.
Got stickers. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Anyway, I think it'd be a cool kind of behind the scenes like deal where you could, not behind the scenes, but like a cool deal where you could get a little bit of network effect off of each other.
Kind of like the idea.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea. I like the idea of our card thing, and I like the idea of kickstarting it too.
Yeah.
Because I kind of think like, you know, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to do some kind of group projects like that. Cards in general are kind of an interesting thing too, because we could do player cards as well, like just a deck of cards. There's a whole bunch of card stuff we could do if we have any success with it, you know?
Yeah, those player cards, Bicycle will print them for you.
I mean, that would be so cool, right? So
yeah, that would be pretty rad.
I think there's potential. But yeah, I actually really like our conspiracy ideas, so I kind of think we should. I honestly think it was cracking us up so much, it's a good sign.
Right.
I know that's weird, but I've had that happen with t-shirt design ideas. Even that silly Kermit thing I was talking about, you know, where it just was funny to me, and turns out it was really, you know, onto something. So I feel like there might be something there. I think it would be all about how we make the trailer for it and how we design the packs, so that the whole goal would be whatever style we do, we'd want them to look really authentic to like kind of gross out packs, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that would be the key. So that, you know what would be the best is we should look at the most popular of gross out cards, Garbage Pail Kids. Because that's something everyone connects to and knows.
Right. Right.
And we could look at least the layout and the kind of vibe of that and the color vibe of that and kind of like try to mimic that. Even though our styles can vary, they should feel like they kind of fit in that realm, you know, just so the concept gets across, you know.
So they all need to be Cabbage Patch Dolls.
No,
we'll get sued. We'll get sued later.
No.
I know what you're saying.
But you get what I'm saying, like the layout and the grid, so that they have like a almost like those you know, those vintage like there's that illustrator that used to do stuff for Threadless and stuff like that, and he's gotten huge.
Glenn's?
And he does like these fake kids book covers from like the 70s, where it'll be like, I was worshiping Satan or something. It'll say something crazy.
Yeah, right.
But anyhow, which is funny because like back in the day, like he actually did an interview with Design by Humans a long time ago where he said I was one of his influences, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
But anyhow, that would be a route to go where it's, you know, I think why those are effective is they connect with people because they remember those old biology books and those old like Nancy Drew covers and stuff. So it's like if you get people the real feel of the item, then like the gag will get across.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, Jake was saying maybe not thematic, but layout and palette. Yeah, exactly. And like maybe texture. So we have like an overlaid texture that's consistent, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's doable. And I'd want to see like what a standard card pack had, you know? Because I think if we had like, I don't know, like 40 of them or 50 of them, like combined, you know, then maybe it would be enough to where people would want to do them.
Yeah. Well, and there's been a lot of, man, these scans are awful.
And I already can think of how we do the promo video for it.
Oh yeah.
Because you could have somebody doing the cards as a tack board, you know, with yarn connecting all of them.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that just speaks for itself, you know. Yeah, it could be a lot of fun. I don't know. We'll have to talk to the other conspirators to see how they'd want to approach it. Maybe we can do like a little conference call or something, brainstorming meeting.
Yep, I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I have finished the blue lines for the side of the crowd. I have kind of everybody's poses worked out and stuff to fill the theater. Now I need to do the other side, and then honestly, after that, we might be calling it for the stream because I have a family birthday party at 7. So I think we'll probably wrap around 6:20. That's cool with you, Corey?
Sounds good to me.
You're like, no, you have to stay on here for eternity.
Hey, wait. You got to check out. hold on. I gotta make myself full screen. I'm going through.
I love this Scottish dude. What is this, Corey? This is amazing.
This guy is so rad. Oh, I love this so much. Look how rad that guy is.
It's Timbers McLaddy.
That is Mr. Hackett as Falstaff.
My name is Hackett. There's but a shirt and a half in all me company, and the half shirt is two napkins tackled together and thrown on the shoulders like Harold Coote, without me large logos blocking that word, and the shirt, to say the truth, stolen from me host at St. Albans, King Henry the Fourth. Aye, Part 1, Act 4. I love this guy.
Yeah.
I look at me hat and weep at me hat's beauty. It's feathers stolen from a wild turkey. This guy looks like really in fear of his life there.
He looks kind of vaguely annoyed, and this guy looks like he's smelling a fart.
Honestly, the guy who looks annoyed looks more like, just kill me, please. This is kind of getting boring. Like, all right, dude, we fought. Just freaking get it over with. Welcome to Ancient Manuscript Commentary.
This is YouTube gold, man. We're gonna mock 250-year-old engravings.
Yeah, I think we'll call our stream Machiavelli. Dad jokes on fire.
Oh, man.
Welcome. You didn't think this was a spicy stream, but we're going to bring the spice by making fun of people from 600 years ago. Actually, honestly, that would be a really fun thing. I would be down to do that. You want to do that, Corey? You want to just start doing, like, a weekly live stream where we just pour through ancient engravings and make voices and make fun of what's in them?
I would love to. I don't know if I've got the improv chops that you and Kevin have, though. Like,
I mean, look at this lady. Look at this lady, dude. She's like, excuse me 1 minute. This is the original Karen from This is Karen 1.0. She's like, may I speak with your manager, sir?
She's complaining about the dates in this bowl.
Yeah. The dates were not properly made. I dare say, sir, my headdress was missing one of its diamonds.
Gary is saying you're sounding very much like Tim the Enchanter, and I agree.
Tim the Enchanter? Oh, I love Tim the Enchanter.
Some call me Tim.
I annoy anyone I meet named Tim by quoting that, and they're like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, is it really that common for people named Tim to hear the, some who call me Tim?
The funny thing with that is my memory of that is so significantly different than the actual delivery of the line.
Yeah.
Because I feel like every time...
Go back, Corey, to the one before, and then make yourself full screen.
Is that this one?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, never mind. Okay. It resolved. At first, I was like, that artist just wanted to draw a big box and then add a head to it. I was like, that was the artist being lazy. He's just like, I'm just going to draw the shape here and add a head. That guy looks like Will Ferrell.
That guy looks like he stole Ruth Bader Ginsburg's collar.
Yeah, so it's Will Ferrell with Ruth Bader Ginsburg's collar and somebody and a wig, for sure.
Yeah, is he like cosplaying as Ginsburg?
Well, awesome. I mean, right there, look at those tights. Wait. Zoom in on those. These awesome shoes, man.
Shoes are incredible.
I want those shoes. It's like putting your foot into a leaf.
I bet those serve zero function.
Oh, man.
He's the original barefoot running shoe guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, that is some very, like, Laurence Olivier version of medieval era, except it might actually be from the time.
It is, yeah.
I dare say, sir, you have offended me. I must take my tights and leave.
So this
Do you remember Robin Hood Men in Tights?
Oh, yeah.
That movie was hilarious.
Hey, Blinken. Did you just say, hey, Blinken? No, I said, hey, Blinken.
So good. Do you remember there was another one called Dracula Dead and Loving It? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, with the dude from Police Squad.
Yeah, but like there's a scene where Renfield falls down the stairs and he goes, A, E, I, O, ooh, and Y. It's so good.
The thing that drives me nuts about stuff like that is it just makes me sad that Hollywood can't make those movies anymore. Not because of whatever, but because they just refuse to be like
dumb,
goofy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything has to be a multi-million-dollar blockbuster. Like no one can just be silly.
That's why we should make our cards, because it's just pure silliness.
Yep.
You know, and that's how we market it. But what we'll do is like the angle of like, and also this will own everyone who's woke.
Yeah, we should have two different campaigns. We'll have one campaign where we own the woke libs, and another campaign where we own
it to the Republican fascists. You know,
we own the alt-right. We'll have both campaigns going.
I love it.
What we do will have nothing to do with either political party.
Yeah,
great.
Oh, I love it. I love it. We'll just take advantage of all angry people.
This looks like this full on is Fraser Crane. Look at this.
Okay, I think we have a new web show. Whether people like it or not, we're just gonna basically. I'm no longer streaming doing art. We're just gonna we're gonna make fun of ancient manuscripts.
I gotta tell you,
look at that guy's toga. He's like straight up ready for like a frat party, just straight up. And look again, their feet. It's the. Have you noticed the pose? The pose of the feet.
Those are like point ballet slippers.
Yeah, did people just stand differently back then? Because it's like everybody has their feet apart and out.
That's how I stand.
Like,
I stand
like
with my feet at a 90-degree angle to each other.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But that's just because my dad is like the most bow-legged person I've met.
Wait, is that Jesus in the background? What is that in the background? Top left above his right shoulder.
That might be Mary.
Oh, I guess it's maybe Mary?
It's a statue.
But just interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's like, I pulled the thunder from the sky. And then in the background, there's like this. Oh.
This is Mr. George Bennett as Apamantis.
Apamantis?
Yeah,
I feel very uneducated. I have no idea who Apamantis is.
Well, it's obviously from Timon of Athens, Act 1, Scene 2.
Oh, jeez. Just that old chestnut? Yeah.
I have literally never heard of that play before.
Timon of Athens. Well, now you can like drop that if you're ever talking to somebody and you just want to sound like a snob. You can just be like, look, I mean, everyone knows, like back with Timon of Athens, you know, I mean,
dude, check this dude out. He's got the original false eyelashes.
Oh, not just that. Look at that mad mullet.
Yeah.
And yes, his proportions are very fascinating.
I think the mullet is hiding an overly large head.
Yeah. Back in the day, people's eyeballs were bigger.
Oh, what's this?
Oh, wait.
Here?
What's with the creepy child holding that person's leg?
Oh, and crying.
That's what all children do, is just strangely grab the leg of...
I think this is from the era of art when artists didn't know how to draw children, so they just did adults as children. They're all just short adults.
You know,
because I love his receding hairline.
That's what we need to do, Corey. Is like, so there's like all these movements that like criticize, called Etchinggate, and it's just going to be making fun of old etchings and lithographs. And we'll be like, "Puh! Look at those chops." Actually, that guy's beard, like that is a thing. That is a hairstyle to aspire to. You know what I mean?
That's pretty legit.
Yeah.
That is.
And how did robes like that go out of fashion, really? You know?
Because they used like 20 yards of fabric to make each one.
Yeah, yeah.
What is up with like
the pointy toes?
Well, I think these are all the same.
Well, you should see these. Okay, check this out. Like, go back to my screen real quick. I'll just show you. In researching Victorian costumes, I keep coming across this, Corey. Why did people in Victorian times have tiny feet?
Yeah. Well, that's
have
what
you
I'm
noticed that? Look at this. Look at this kid. His foot. It's like. It's almost like a Baphomet. Like a Baphomet, like
a hoof.
Hoof with like a little point on it. So I have this conspiracy theory that these drawings aren't stylized, that people in Victorian times just had really tiny feet. That's my theory.
That's possible.
That we've evolved since. We have bigger feet now.
Yeah. I was at one point there was a thing where I was talking to this guy and he was like, yeah, there was this one pharaoh that was like a mutant. Like they had inbred so much that he had like mutated.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what are you basing that on? And he's like, oh, like the depictions of him in the hieroglyphs. And I was like, there's literally an era in time when he was talking about this guy, an era in time where they broke from the religious tradition and he had like this monotheistic situation. And like, it was the only time that the art changed because they had like very strict rules about like art and everything. And so they tried to change up the art, but nobody was good at it because they had been doing the same thing for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And this guy's takeaway from that was that he was like some sort of inbred backwoods mutant. And I was like, no, that's just a historical aberration. Like anyway.
And by the way, if you're sticking to that old code of art, that hand sign that he's holding is heretical. You know, it's right, like that era exactly. where they had to, like, if it's Christ, he has to have his hands pointed in like 3 different correct directions. Otherwise you'll get beheaded as an artist, because how dare you commit the heresy of art that's not religious.
Right.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm glad we no. You know what? We're creating a new movement, a new spicy movement, Corey. It's called Etchinggate. Why are we in this modern era where people can just draw hands held in whatever way? We need to return to the good old days of hand gestures and art being restricted. You know? That's when people were free, you know?
Right.
Triptychs, gold leaf, you know.
Oh my gosh, this is the most Monty Python thing I've seen.
That is awesome. You want to see it almost like cut out, like moving?
Look at that.
Wow.
That is wow. She's a ripped chick.
Yeah. Good for her. A lot of exercise.
That's impressive.
I want to see that paper cut out, like, you know, dancing around a ballroom with like Terry Gilliam going.
Right. That's Miss Glynn as Cleopatra.
That's right, ladies
so
and gents.
I think these are illustrations of the actors and actresses.
Hashtag Etchinggate, guys. Etchinggate.
Well,
okay?
Actually, this might be why this looks like a dude, is because I think it is a dude.
Oh,
these are
back in the era ancient, where... Yeah. Back when it was, you know, the very masculine thing to not have women in plays.
Right.
We need to go back to that era. How could we be in this modern time, Corey, where women are allowed to play women in movies?
Okay, so there are plays.
Go back to the good old days.
Josh, you'll know this because you're a literary nerd. There are plays where in the plot of the play, like the story, you have a man dressed up. No, you have a woman dressed up as a man, trying to pass themselves off as a man. And it was played by a man playing a woman trying to dress up as a man.
Yep, we need to go back to those good old times where everything was really simple and made a lot of ethical sense.
But I mean, like, how would you convey that to the
Hashtag
audience?
Etchinggate.
That's not what it. It's the one that She's All That is based on. What's the play that I'm thinking of?
Oh, are you talking about Much Ado About Nothing? Or
No, there's no gender swapping in Much Ado About Nothing.
oh my gosh, now I can't remember.
I'll look it up. She's
Taming of the Shrew? I don't think there was a gender swap in that either. Whatever it was called, we need to go back there, you know? Like these modern times where
Pygmalion?
Oh, Pygmalion. Yeah, that's that's actually roughly what My Fair Lady is based on too.
Yeah,
Although,
modern retelling of George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion and George Cukor's My Fair Lady.
Nice. My Fair Lady's great, by the way. I'm not a big Broadway guy, but like old school musicals like My Fair Lady, I think are excellent. Amazing things. And also...
Oh, Twelfth Night. A woman disguises herself as a man to serve a duke.
That's it.
Yeah. So in Twelfth Night, you have
a male
actor
having
playing a female
dress
character.
as a woman, dressing as a man. Yeah.
Yep.
It was like the Blur song as a literal reality. Those were the days of theater, you guys. Okay, let's go back to the old ways. Look at that guy's pose, by the way. That dude before.
Where'd he go? Hold on. Let's find him.
I don't know where he went.
Is it this guy?
No, there was like a dude before that was like clearly like trying to flex. There it is. Where he's just like, check out these guns. These guns by my... Look at those guns. Who's got tickets? We need to just go through these and make like modern shirts. You know, that could be a guy saying, who's got tickets to the gun store? And then it could be whatever the name of the guy is, like Theo the Elworth, or what is it? What did it say down? Mr. Creswick.
Mr. Creswick.
As
Boy, false hound.
If you have writ your anals true. That actually says that. You guys need to writ your anals true, okay? That's all I'm saying.
There's two ends there. There's two ends.
What? I'm an analytical therapist. That's one of the funniest jokes from Arrested Development. Oh, man. Have you seen Arrested Development, Corey?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know the therapist, he gets all these business cards printed up.
Uh-huh.
And it's a shortening of analytical and therapist, so it reads as analrapist.
Yep.
Anyhow, great.
It's good stuff.
Good times. Good jokes. Okay, what do we got? We got our audience is getting filled in, ladies and gentlemen. Nice. Jake is on fire here. He said throw some boxing gloves on her. That was the more beefy lady.
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be some kind of YouTube show there where we could. It's like the roast of old, you know, ancient people, like, you know, from England. in plays back in the day where you're like, what's with this person? You know, that kind of thing.
I'm sure that'd be a huge hit.
Okay. Does she look a little bit like she's dying there?
She might be.
Yeah. Looks a bit like it.
Let's see. What do we got?
You know what it is? I think it's that corset. Juliet there, the corset is literally killing her.
Yeah, right.
And she's telling Romeo, she's like, just release the corset a little bit. I can't breathe. And he's like, shut up, Juliet. We're doing a play.
Oh, man.
So what is the collection here for? It's just for like techniques on inks and stuff?
Yeah, and I want to gather some more interesting source material to do kind of some mixed media stuff.
Nice.
Because I did the one for the first anti-phone case. It had a bunch of etchings in it, and so I'll probably keep
anti-phone, Antifa. Oh my gosh, Corey! Yep. I knew it all along.
Yes. This guy's head is so out of proportion. That's amazing. Go on.
I can't see it.
Yeah, right here.
Oh my goodness.
It looks like Farquaad.
Wait, look at that hat though.
Yeah.
What happened to hats like that? I want a hat like that.
Ignominious death.
Like it looks like a birthday present. Like the hat looks like the top of a cake, or like a birthday present that's wrapped with a weird fringe on the top. It's kind of like, think about that. If every day, everywhere you went, people just thought your head was like a birthday present.
This is Romeo and Mercutio. Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet ruined me for all of these
I like
dudes.
Baz Luhrmann's. I like
it's so good.
You know, I actually, the play's pretty good. The funny thing about Romeo and Juliet though is people who are my age who think it's about like the purest expression of love.
Yeah, people who think it's a romance.
Yeah, and generally those people aren't in really good relationships.
Now there's a Farquaad. That guy looks straight up Farquaad.
Farquaad that, you know what I'm saying?
Ooh, Iago.
Oh, Iago, look how dangerous he looks, you know? Yeah. This is back in the day when the evil villains looked like they could dance off the stage, you know?
He's got flowers on his shoes.
He's like, don't mess with my flowers. Did you scuff my flowers? Are you scuffing my flowers? Word on the street is, you said something about a run in my tights. Them's fighting words.
I like how it's become a Western all of a sudden.
It is. It's funnier if it's a Western. Look at those gloves! Those gloves are rad.
Look at the hands compared to the rest of his body. I mean, that is...
So, yeah, back in...
He's got, like, doll hands.
Well, I mean, everybody knows this. Like, back in the day, people used to have smaller hands. Mm-hmm. And in Victorian England, they had really tiny feet.
Yep.
It's only really recently that we evolved, to actually have, hands that are the proportion that we know of them today. Everyone knows.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Whoa! Talk about proportions. Look at this. Okay, look at her compared to him.
Oh, look at his head. Look at that magnificent face.
Yeah.
I just love how serious that guy is. I think that needs to be your new icon for your YouTube channel, Corey. That guy's face where you're like, and I dare warn you about tech. It is coming to destroy us all. He's like that's a prophet face right there.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's King Lear.
King Lear. Wow. King Lear could also open his mouth and engulf that woman's head in his mouth.
The thing that makes me really sad is how many hundreds of hours it must have taken to carve this out.
Yeah.
and they didn't bother to get the proportions right first.
Opening up like the next critique of our artwork, where people are like, "Look at this guy's head," and we're like, "Crap! why did I open that can of worms?" If you guys are just tuning in, hit like. Hashtag Etchinggate. Feel free in the comments to riff on, to razz old ancient etchings.
Oh man.
Always fun, Corey. I got about 8 minutes till we have to wrap.
Okay.
But I am enjoying this regardless.
These shovel wielding gentlemen. Hold on, let's load this. Like both of their heads look disconnected from their bodies.
They also both look like it'd be a shame if the shovel found your face.
Right.
Be a shame.
This man
if
has
you
no
needed
neck.
a hole dug and you fell into it. It'd be a shame.
That's good stuff right there.
Yeah, I like the expressions. The technique though is still kind of exquisite and amazing.
Oh yeah.
These things.
I mean that's what's super incredible about this. Look at the dirt. Imagine spending that much time on dirt. That's awesome.
Yep.
Now, here's a good example of what you were talking about.
The tiny toes?
No, just like spending, like at the top, spending a ton of time on stuff that nobody's going to look at. I will look at it.
Well, and back then it was kind of a necessity too, because it's like, you know, for that woodcut to like transfer, or like those lithographs to transfer well. That's awesome.
Dude, check this out. So this is Macbeth.
Yeah.
And then in the filigree, you've got the witch with like the creepy eye. Oh, that is great.
I think that witch looks rad. I think that looks like something that should be on like a chick track, like for Dungeons and Dragons. That
Here's
witch.
the three witches at their cauldron.
Yes.
If anybody's wondering where Esoteric Crumblefucks gets stuff like this, it's by me pouring through ancient scanned documents. Look at this. It's so great.
That's beautiful.
Oh, I love this. And this is the Scottish thistle, which makes sense for Macbeth.
I also like that it becomes, the filigree becomes, that's actually a really cool idea, like the filigree being like
part of the,
with thorns.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Man, this one's great. I want like a giant poster of that.
Yeah, I want that with like some weird satanic panic statement underneath it, and I would rock that as a t-shirt or something.
Here's a different Macbeth.
Wow, look at that crown.
Yeah, it's legit.
That crown. Like when they say heavy is the head that wears the crown.
You're talking about this one?
I think so, because that looks like to balance that on your head, you're just kind of avoiding getting your neck snapped.
I also think that it's not even casting a shadow. I think it's cutting into his skull.
Yeah. No, that's actually a fair point. In fact, yeah, it's kind of amazing. Back then, though, they used to actually just surgically insert crowns on people's skulls. It's part of their scalp.
We should make
just do a fake history channel where we just like riff and make up like in 1603 Sir Genevard III.
I want to walk into a room
sitting in betwixt.
I want to walk into a room and stand next to chairs like this.
Yeah.
Like in
I think that is a pose of a gentleman there, you know? Where you're just like, "Hello, sir. Good sir, I dare say what you just said has offended me.
Your bejeweled dagger.
I am bedaggered by that expression." All right, we're at closing time. So I did not get to finish the roughs for all of the what look like now ghosts haunting the ballroom because they're all cyan. Ooh, it's a ghost-filled ballroom. But I have gotten as far as I can before heading to my sister's for her birthday thing. So, Corey, where can people find Esoteric Crumble Flex?
Go to CoreyKerr.com. CoreyKerr.com.
Awesome.
And you can go buy things there.
You should buy things there. Also, if you haven't yet, hit the bell so you get notifications when we're about to go live. I will be coming back with fury probably later tonight to hopefully finish up this crowd scene. Hopefully this gave you some ideas for how to do crowd scenes of your own if you're insane. And, if you're sane, then maybe it just provided you with amusement. Let's see here. I'll show the crowd scene as far as I've gotten. This is a crazy, crazy page I'm working on. All right. That being said, I will see you guys on the next live stream. Appreciate you guys spending the time. I know that our time is very important to us, and the fact that you guys are willing to spend your free time to listen to silly old me while I'm working on art and to kind of hang out with me and work on art with me is much appreciated. I'll see you guys on the next live stream, and I'll probably see you guys in 3 or 4 hours tonight. Possibly. So, all right. If you want to know, though, when it's about to go live, make sure you hit that bell. And also, keep keep paying attention and make sure you're subscribed to Corey, because I believe Corey is hosting Artcasters on Sunday. So,
I am.
Yeah.
Yep,
so make sure you've hit the bell on his channel, because Sunday, I think at 7 Pacific?
Yeah.
But that could change. That could change to Qua Tuesday, which isn't even a day, right? You never know. So make sure you're subscribed to both our channels and you've hit the bell. Corey, thanks for hanging out, doing art with me. It was fun. And we'll see you guys on the next live stream. Bye. Oh, and thanks to Jim for the beach visit. Sorry if we kept you up. All right. Have a good night.